me kickstart the session, and I think by the time we cover the next 1 or 2 minutes, more folks would join in. So if you are facing some issues, use the Q&A panel, or you can use the chat window as well. I hope that's enabled. I did check that option on. So, but if not, use the Q&A panel. I know you can use the Q&A panel, right? So let me get started. Let me start putting up my screen, and hopefully you're able to see the screen as well. Let me swap it. Sanjeev, can you confirm if I'm on the right screen? Presentation?
Yeah, you are. Yep. Welcome, Data Heroes. Make IT work.
Thank you. Welcome all. Very interesting session. I think I was sharing how inspired and how enthusiastic I am. I was, when I first learned about data warehouses, I think after like decade or 13, 14 years now, I'm super excited about this concept called data products. Before we get there, right? So for those of you not familiar with Data Heroes, it's just an informal community, right? There's nothing formal about it. And the whole intention of why we started doing these sessions, and we've done some sessions in the past, you'll not see any recording. We never recorded in the past. Is what we want to debate. We want to exchange ideas and then debate and not put it on YouTube. Because when you're debating, those are content that cannot go on YouTube, right? So for a change now, for this session, we will record this because there's a lot of people who are not able to attend it live. They've registered, they've requested. So I am going to record this live and probably put it in a medium for people to consume it. But then the whole idea does not change. Let's if there's an idea that's being shared by any one of the folks on the presentation, presenters, go ahead and challenge that. Post your question on the Q&A panel. I'll send the links for the Slack groups and any other mediums that you can reach and debate with a fantastic group of people that we have. So you can interact with most of them as well. So with that, one couple of announcements, right? I'm not going to take more than 30 seconds. If you're based out of Bangalore, there's a meetup that's happening on the 10th, which is February on the 7th. This is happening in a startup company called as E6 Data. They're hosting us, they're giving us a space. It will be a fantastic evening. I would say no presentations, nothing. So we're just going to network as a data community. I know Sanjeev had a Boston meetup last night, if I'm not wrong, Sanjeev. So we're doing something similar in Bangalore this Friday, right? So
very nice. Love it.
Great. Today we have Sanjeev, but then as I said, we cannot cover all the things about data products today, but we're going to do a little bit of series, right? So Sanjeev today talks about the importance of data products. I think Sanjeev, thanks to his role, I think has access to founders, practitioners, and everyone. And his research background basically helps us get a viewpoint of why is it important and why he thinks this is a defining moment in our space. But what we're going to do is run a series of topics over the next couple of weeks. Talking and going a little bit detailed, going a little bit tech as well. The next week, we'll talk about life cycle of data products. I would be helped by Venkat Pingali, who's a co-founder of Scribble Data, and he's going to walk us through the life cycle of data products. Again, all of our sessions would be live, would be debatable. So we'll if this format does not work out, we'll go back to our Zoom meetings and just keep everybody unmuted, and we'll have a healthy debate on things. We'll take a break the following week due to speaker unavailability, but then Aman, who's been a very active member in our community, works at Akamai, and he's going to talk about some of the trends that he's been having and observing in the ETL market. I do come from a similar space, and he's going to share his perspective on how they are looking at problem statements and how we think some of us should redefine the way we look at ETL products. We continue on the data product journey. I'll be joined by Rajesh on the 1st of March, talking about the anatomy of a data product, right? We're going to go a little bit deeper. Sanjeev is going to cover that in parts, but then we've got a full hour talking about the anatomy of data products. On the 8th of the March, which is what I'm still proposing and thinking about, we can have a 2-hour session. For those of you who can spend as 2 hours with us, the idea is, can we spend the 2 hours and do a working session and come up with a template of how do I capture my requirements? How do I go a little bit deeper and say, how do I build my first MVP of a data product? What do I collect? How do I measure the metrics and all of that? We'll see what we can cover in the 2 hours. But I want it to be more of an interactive working session rather than just somebody presenting. So we'll all be regrouping together. But the idea is to come up with some templates, come up with some formats that we can go back and take to our organizations and then hey, I want to develop a data product, but then these are the criteria and all of that, right? So again, I'm not going to steal thunder away from Sanjeev, who's spent, I think, the last 1 or 2 months, Sanjeev, I think you've been spending a lot of time around data products. Sanjeev, I know most of the folks on the call would know you, but I want you to hear and your point of view on about what you've done firsthand, what's been your background, and what excites you about data products.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Ashwin. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So welcome, everyone. I'm looking at the attendee list, and it gladdens my heart to see so many names that I recognize. I am happy to talk to you about data products. I do have to say that I'm a research analyst. There are people like Rajesh and Balaji, Vignesh, who are actually doing stuff, So I'm constantly learning from everyone. Ashwin is one of the most active guys I know in my life. I saw Ashwin for the first time in December when I had the great opportunity to host a meetup at the Google Cloud facility in Bangalore. And kind of a homegrown thing. And then we had amazing meeting of the minds, and we talked about a ton of very interesting topics, not data products. Data products was still not on my radar. That's more of a recent thing.
Yes.
So just a very quick background for me. I have been in the data space for the longest time, since the 90s when I joined Oracle. And so I was very hands-on, data architect, data modeler, a DBA. I did all that. And then data just became sort of boring. There was not much happening. If I needed to do something, I had to go into the application side, ERP and all, which I ended up doing it. But I was like, this is not my idea of fun. So I'm done with data. I moved into management consulting, working for Booz Allen Hamilton. And then something amazing happened. Big data. Hadoop came in. NoSQL came in. And I came rushing back. I'm like, now this is an exciting thing. Now I feel that we are at the cusp of yet another revolution, yet something like data products. I think it gives us a new way of thinking. By the way, I'm in Boston right now, as Ashwin said. Had an amazing meetup last night, but I'm here to speak in a few hours at Starburst's Data Nova conference on this topic of data products. So it's perfect timing. Couldn't have done it better. Only thing is I'm a creature of warm places, and the last few days it's been like minus 10 degrees Celsius or something like that. So not too bad, but I'm not used to this kind of weather. So other thing that you should know about me is that I encourage and I love interactive dialogues. I don't want to be, just talking for the next 45 minutes or however time I have. If you have questions, please post it. And Ashwin, stop me anytime.
Yes, I will do that.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's get started. So what is the problem? Why we even gathered? Why are we even talking about this? So here is my thinking. It's 2023. We've done talking. We spent so much time last year talking about data mesh. What is data mesh? What is data product? And so on. What are the principles? Now the economy is forcing us to take action, implement it, build it. So what I've done is I'm taking it to the next step. I'm proposing a data products lifecycle, so we can start like building stuff. So some of my thoughts actually come from people on this call. So I want to give credit to people like Rajesh, who's really helped me crystallize my thinking. I was already working on data products catalog when we got introduced. So this article published yesterday on a Forbes Council website. And here I'm talking about how do you know about data products, metadata, its usage, its telemetry, And how does it interact with data marketplaces, with data security, and data catalogs by themselves? So that's my whole article.
Yes.
Yeah. Today, I'm going, but what I'm most interested in is a life cycle. So what is the problem? So here, this is what happened. I've been building data analytics solutions for the longest time. Where did I build it? On premises. We didn't have cloud till some 15 years ago. So I did it on premises using in an environment where the hardware is expensive, software was expensive. The only thing cheap were the people. It's like talent wasn't that expensive. Today, it's exactly the reverse. Storage is cheap, compute is cheap, but people are expensive and they're hard to find. So we need to rethink, how do we build these solutions? The way we did it on premises was very careful. We did data modeling and all. But the moment we moved into the cloud, the constraints went away. I can now very easily put my credit card down, and actually I don't even need to put my credit card down. I can get Google BigQuery and I can get started, and for free forever. So there's so many free forever services as long as they're limited. What does that do? It gives me the ability to start up instances within a minute, make a copy of data like zero copy clone in Snowflake. And now, voila, I can build my reports, my dashboards, all great. But the problem is with this ease of use and this simplicity comes a deterioration in a discipline. We no longer need to think through a good data model. We no longer need to ask a question, why am I even moving this data into the cloud? I just move it, and now I've got dirty data, I'm transforming it, I've got my clean data, they're all sitting together, and the promise that was made to me that I get speed, I get amazing developer experience, I can manage my cost is thrown out the door. So now I have none of that. And by the way, let me take it down a level deeper. It's not that I don't have it. It's just that the build became really cheap and fast. But what we have neglected up to this point is the maintenance, the long tail. So yes, I can very easily create a materialized view or a table, a view, and I can create a report, and then I can move on to something else. Guess what? All that stuff is sitting there, just consuming resources, slowing down my other events because I've got millions and millions of rows of data just unused because no one is watching the operationalization, the maintenance of that. So data products introduces a product management philosophy. So I'm going to stop here because Ashwin, I want to see if you have questions and
I think you lay down the problem statement really well, right? So the question is, I think you're leading on to that is, what is this data product, and what is this data as a product, right? So I think there are two different terminologies people use regularly in literature, blogs, in media as well. There are two different annotations, right? What is data products, first of all, and why is your fanboy moment with this whole new approach? Because you're continuously writing and speaking about data products regularly of late. Where's your fanboy moment in this new approach? And what's the difference between data products and data as a product? I think I laid out like 3 questions for you. But then, yes.
Yeah. So data, let's talk about data as a product first. Okay. So data as a product came before data product. Kind of. Actually, it's debatable. It's like, let's not get stuck on the terms by themselves because terms come and go. But Zhamak Dehghani introduced the concept of data mesh a few years ago, 4 years ago. 2018 is when she came out, 2019. In fact, I have a podcast on YouTube. Please subscribe to it if you can. It's I can send Ashwin your link if you want to put it.
I will do that. I watched it, so I'm going to share that with everyone. Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
So for sure. So yeah, for the rest of the folks, I'll share it.
Okay, perfect. So in that, we discussed this topic. So data as a product is one of the 4 principles of data mesh. Data mesh is a concept that tries to solve 3 different problems. We lack this concept of ownership. So there's no data ownership. So imagine data comes from one place, goes through the spaghetti of like transformations. You're joining HubSpot data with Jira tickets, with survey results, creating some transformation. Then the consumer creates a report. Then some other consumer creates a different report, and the data doesn't match. And they say, well, who's responsible for this? I don't know. I mean, I'm a HubSpot admin. I have no idea about this
Sure.
other workday. So no one knows who owns the data. So she tried to solve that domain ownership problem. The second thing she's trying to solve is the complexity, the time, the effort, and the cost it takes to go from data producers to data consumers. And the third thing she's trying to solve is developer experience.
Yes.
It's very hard. So those were the 3 things prompted her to create data mesh. She came up with 3 principles. Then she added governance as a 4th principle. So there are 4 principles. So I'm not going to belabor what those 4 principles are. But the second one is called data as a product. As you can imagine, it's a concept. So what is data product? Data product takes a concept and it gives life to it. And it's a physical manifestation of the concept. How does a data product look like? Well, it doesn't look any different from what you have today. Today, you go do your reports or queries on a table or a view or a materialized view. That's a data product. For some people, it could be an amalgamation, a collection, a schema of tables, like what Starbucks calls a data set. That's but if I'm a data scientist, then an ML model is a product. If I'm a business analyst, a report is a data product. So a data product is nothing new. In fact, I would even say that what you are hearing me say, if a purist who has years of experience like me or more than me is listening to me, will be annoyed. It'll be like, you didn't say anything new. We've been doing this on Teradata since 1985. And you're right.
Yeah.
It's like, but
It's
what is new is packaging it. It's like this thinking. What is new is that it's not just a table. Data product says that somebody has to own the product. So there's domain ownership, and somebody has to be accountable because they own it, and treat it like a software product or like a real life. Like here is my iPhone. So you can see 10:50 a.m. in Boston. And so it's a product. It's got like version control. There are new versions that'll come out. How do I know that this report does not have the most current data, or I added a new column? I version control it and I deprecate the old version. That's not something we have done. And we data professionals have done ourselves a big injustice, and now we are learning the best practices from DevOps principles that software engineering is doing, and that makes us more holistic.
Yeah, I think adding on to one more point is like, I think for us data products today, like let's say if a BI dashboard is a data product, it's a set of tables for us, right? And those tables were basically populated from hundreds of, let's say take Stitch from Talent or Fivetran or whatever. They were just dumping data into a staging layer, curated layer, and then finally in your data marts or your snowflakes or whatever the word. I think that approach now changes in the data world, right? Is that in the data product world, the thinking of, hey, I'm going to give you a finished product. Don't worry about the intermediate things. I'm going to understand the entire life cycle. I'm going to add software engineering principles of sprint life cycle of releases, everything. Is that the right way of defining what a data product is?
That is exactly the right way. And I'm going to borrow an example, which I know Rajesh will go into much more detail exactly a month from today when he speaks. And he has reverse engineered the entire oil and gas industry. So kudos to him. I'm not going to do that. So he's so, but this is his example. When we fill up our cars with petrol. That petrol is refined. But when it comes out of the ground, it's not. It's got all kinds of minerals and deposits, dirt, all kinds of stuff. So the oil industry takes the raw material, cleans it, processes it, and then it produces the petrol that we fill. It produces aircraft fuel that the planes use. But then that product is combined in all kinds of ways to produce plastic.
Yeah.
You're not dumping the raw material. Like you have a pipeline, a staged pipeline. You're not using stitch for talent and Fivetran and all of these. And you're saying, let's bring everything in. Last night, I was at dinner with Chad Sanderson, and who's a thought leader I highly respect. And he was saying that we are using like 5% of the data that we are bringing into our targets. 5%. I don't know if what the real number is. But there's a heavy cost of moving the data, storing the data. All the storage is cheap, no question, but processes are not, labor is not, and now you've dumped it. And now you're only using 5%, and you're all fretting over all kinds of trying to solve all kinds of problems, like, is my table format correct? Do I have iceberg or hoodie or delta, and do I have this? But we have basic problems that we haven't solved. We dumped our dirty data, and now we're figuring out, how do I use it? What's a use case? So data as a product, or data changes a fundamental thing. It says, do not treat data as a trivial manner. Treat it as a business asset. Start with business, and then your technical journey should begin. So that business outcome.
Go ahead. Sorry, self-interrupting. Yeah.
Yep. No. So think business outcome, and then you begin your journey. So that is the exciting part of.
Who owns this data products? Like, let's say it gets into real life. Like, who owns this? Does it come from the central team? Because today the data is lying on snowflakes or lake houses, or in fact on-prem Teradata, wherever it could be. Who owns the data product? Who's the owner of this? Is it coming back to central IT, or is it going to be owned by the domain teams?
So Ashwin, that's a great question. And there are a lot of my close friends who tell me that data mesh is taking us back to the dark ages of silos. Like, you know, how we used to have silos. Now we have silos. Now this domain is doing this domain doing that. Everyone has self-service data infrastructure. So one team says Snowflake, one says Delta Lake, and the other one says, no, I'm going to build it on S3 with Redshift or whatever on top. So there's no standardization, and that's a huge problem. So this is the reason why I enjoy talking about data products, but not data mesh per se. And it was refreshing to hear Zhamak herself say, data mesh is a concept. Data mesh is like saying, I do microservices architecture. But data products is reality. So data products is actually a superset in terms of adoption. It's already bigger than data mesh. So on this podcast, I'm trying to de-link data products and data mesh. And I don't really want to go into data mesh. I don't want to get into, is it centralized, is it decentralized? I understand the logic of why we decentralize, but to be honest, I think it's not one or the other. I think it's a hybrid approach. I think there are things where things still need to be centralized. We may have federated computational governance, but I believe that within an organization, there should be a common definition of what a customer is. All the different teams may have a different definition, but if I'm counting my number of customers, like in big companies, in banks in the US, in my real life, in the past, I've said, so how many employees do you have? No idea. Because they're counted differently. What's the definition of an employee? Is it a full-time employee? Is it a contractor, but working 40 hours a week? Is it this? Is it that? Is it part-time? Is it somebody on maternity leave? So you see, so I think there are the business glossary, maybe the access control policies. If I change departments and all of a sudden I shouldn't have access to my previous domain. So it's not a domain thing, it's a corporate thing. So
Yeah.
so that's just my take.
So partly centralized, but
Yeah,
then the
correct.
whole idea and the distribution, the life cycle of it, ownership should be decentralized. Is that a fair understanding? I
Yes,
think the thought process as well. You can't
correct.
decentralize today because we have spent the last 2 decades telling people, preaching them that you've got to centralize. So you can't go back
Yeah,
on
yeah,
tomorrow and then say go decentralize. I think it's something that has to naturally evolve. For some
right.
organizations, it fit in. For some organizations, it may not. I think you got to understand the organizational culture to that. But I think the core idea is the ownership should be decentralized. Like if I'm head of
Yes,
marketing, I own all my marketing data products, but I can leverage the technical skill sets or the skill sets and the assets or the infrastructure, tech stacks of the central team to distribute that. But the ownership of it, what it holds, what it has to share, what it has to be communicating, like I think that changes the approach in my point of view. Otherwise, it will become a traditional Ralph Kimball model where central team tries to understand the tech with the business team, and then they try to implement. I think the implementation, the ownership, and the distribution needs to lie there, but then the access control, the governance, in fact, the storage layer can be standardized across the organization, or even, for example, you're at Starburst, they can use Starburst to kind of federate across different data sets across. But then the distribution, what the data product holds, what's the purpose of it, and who consumes it, the life cycle of it, I think should be decentralized in my point of view. What are your thoughts on that?
so I completely agree. When I look at what, let's say, Roche is doing, or OneWeb, or JP Morgan Chase, like JP Morgan Chase data mesh is built on S3 and Redshift. Roche is built on Snowflake,
Yeah,
and
Docs.live
and
and
OneWeb is on Databricks.
yeah.
They're not saying that let's just bring every technology. They're standardizing on a certain set of technologies, and I love what they're doing, but they are doing this centralized kind of IT framework, infrastructure, and then decentralized domain ownership. And like OneWeb, for instance, is creating data products that their clients are using, and they have now gone into data monetization. Not necessary, not always the case, but OneWeb is doing that. And if you go into data monetization, guess what? Like in some examples I'm seeing, they have petabytes of data on Snowflake, but they are actually making money by monetizing. And sorry, OneWeb is also Snowflake. I was thinking about Yotpo in Israel, which is Databricks, because I was just talking to them. But
Yeah.
OneWeb is also Snowflake. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. Great. So I think I want to shift over a little bit. See the audience that we have. Some of them are very senior. They're in charge for their departments or domains. Some consulting senior folks as well. And I think one of the things I think everyone is excited about the whole idea of data as a product, data as a first class citizen. We've always treated data as just a set of 100 tables which have to be joined following a Ralph Kimball or a data vault model. But then this changes the approach. I think it's like a software app that's like complete, that has its life cycle, a lot of internal data products that they can consume as well. Let's say somebody wants to build a business case, right, around, hey, how should I start this approach? I'm sure that's your area of specialty as well, because you consult on the business side a lot. How do you think people should approach this problem? What's the value that they should highlight to their customers if they're on the consulting side, or if they're internal employees trying to pitch this whole idea to their CDOs or CDAOs? What should be their pitch? Probably spend like a couple of minutes there.
Yeah, sure. So it's a tough question. I think, Ben Stencil in his amazing Substack post every Friday, he raised a very interesting question. You can ask a CFO, what do you do? Clear-cut answer. You ask a data guy, what do you do? Oh, well, I do ETL. It's like, really? What does that benefit me? It's like, so it's so hard for like, us data people to say, what do we do? What value do you bring? Oh, I build reports. Okay, so why? I think with data products, we start shifting the thinking because we're like, what is the business problem? Maybe it's, I'm not optimized, or it's competition, I need intelligence, or cost optimization. So what we tell businesses that, look, you have a business problem, you now become the first class citizen in this journey, not the exhaust. It's not like how many some of you guys who have been doing this for a long time, you probably remember we used to get business requirements, and then we used to go into a shell, a multi-year project to build a data warehouse, and then we would tell the business, go use it, and they would be like, thanks, but no thanks. Our requirements changed in the 2 years you took, so I'm going back to Excel. This was a reality. Now, what we tell business is that the journey starts with you, the data consumer. You tell us what you want, and then I am the data guy, I'm the data producer, because I'm thinking data product. So I've got data ownership, and I've got the domain knowledge. So I'm going to build it based on your requirements, and that is what we call a data contract. So we're going to have a contract. So consumers give us the requirements, data producers create a contract, so they are aligned. Now, it's quite possible that there'll be more data consumers, and so producer may not know what these consumers are. They may just start mushrooming. So there's some amazing work that is being done. In our community, Anant has this company, this product he's created called Schemata, where he's trying to bring some intelligence to this process where the business sees the value, the data producer accepts the requirements, prioritizes it, creates an ROI. Today there's no ROI. It's like, how do I know in this complex, ELT, data transformation, storage, BI, governance, so we are now going into a business-driven approach, and this is how we are different.
Anand is on the calls. I think he should be happy.
Okay.
A good friend now of late. So I've been chatting with Anand on a regular basis as well. So I think contracts is important as part of the overall build of data products, because you're now having tech people and non-tech people collaboratively work, and they need an interface. It could be a Miro board or whatever, but then I think when it comes to data problems, you got to define at a schema level. You got to go at a column level as well. I think a contract first approach becomes more important for products or data products. I think a contract first approach for your warehouse or lake houses becomes a problem, because you've got 100,000 of tables lying in your warehouse or your lake houses. That becomes a problem. But because products are well defined, well owned, the ownership is there. And that's domain driven. I think a contract first approach would succeed in this data product point of view. That's my observation in general.
Yeah.
Perfect. So we're going to take a minute, address some questions before going back. Sanjeev, so there's a question from Manoj sent around: is data product domain specific?
Yes. Very much. That is very important. Like, I'm a marketing guy. I'm the domain product owner, and all I know is marketing, and I'm going to create my product for a marketing product. Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. Next question comes from Amit. So where do technology products like Informatica, Talent, Power BI, Click, etc. stand around the concepts of data as a product? And how does their role kind of revolve in that?
Yeah, I think they have a very, very important role to play. I don't want people to think that because, I'm talking about, let's not just do ETL willy-nilly and just haphazardly. I think these companies that you mentioned, let's say Informatica, for an example, it could be DBT. DBT is doing an amazing job already with their metrics layer. A metric layer or at scale with a semantic layer could be a product too, right? Yeah. So we have to think much broader. So now, what role do these companies play? Like, let's say Informatica. Informatica also Fivetran and these companies, they are putting a lot of checks and balances and guardrails in their extract data movement process. For example, they can detect, is this a PII? Is it like, should I make it available? Is there a data quality problem in my data? Did the data come on time and stuff like that? So when you extract that data, what my logic is, you don't think about loading. It's not always, I got to load it to the target, load it to a product, create a product, extract, transform, product, ETP. Sorry, I just came up with this.
That's, I think you need to patent it now before somebody takes it over. So,
yes. So extract, transform, product. So you go straight to a product. And you're joining tables, you're doing different data sources, you're doing lightweight, you're doing data transformation, not lightweight, although it could be. But certain things you have to load it because, you cannot just, unless you load it, because schemas are all different and there's a lot of, harmonization that needs to happen, Alteryx and all these companies, what they do. So I'm saying it's not like you can always do it, but if you can, don't think loading as your only target or Kafka as your only target. Think extract, transform, product, make it available to the consumers.
Yeah.
Last night.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that's how most data products would start their initial build journey till there's a maturity in terms of framework and feel. Next question, just jumping on in the interest of time, two more, and then we'll come back to the other questions. A lot of questions coming in now. Does data mesh is data mesh beneficial to smaller business or is it only for larger organizations? I think it's a very valid point. Yes. I have my observations on mesh on this, but then I think you can answer it from a data products point of view.
Yes, so I think data mesh is a concept for large companies, companies that have a problem at hand. They have too many business units. They don't know. They're slowed, or they have a very slow process of responding to the consumers. It takes them 3 months to respond to a consumer. If you go with data products approach and you overlay it with data ops, then you can go from 1 release in 3 months to 3 releases in a week.
Yeah.
How cool is that? So to me, data mesh is for large, complicated environments, not for small companies. It's just, don't worry about it at this point.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
Creating more silos in a small organization, right? Everybody will be a department owner now. So.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. One more, or like I think the two of them. One is start schema relevant. The other one is can observability SLAs be tied up to data contracts? I think probably a question for Anand. You can take it up. Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, so data observability has been one of my favorite topics since I went independent. I left Gartner in July of 2021, started my own company called SanjMo, and data observability was an area I thought I'd jump into because it was kind of new and Gartner had not yet started the coverage. I have a Medium location where I've got a few articles on use cases, frequently asked questions, and evaluation criteria. So I did a lot of research. Now, interestingly, why do we have data observability is because we don't know what's going on. It's like my friend Kamal says, it's data blind, you're blindsided, blind spots by data. So you need observability. But if you do it with a product-led approach and a domain-centric data product data mesh, then you can solve some of these problems by doing things the right way. But even then, you need observability because you've got data coming in from different sources at different velocities, different times. You need to know that, is my data quality good? Did my pipelines run at night? What is it costing me? The resources, the FinOps. Yeah. So all of that is important.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Any viewpoints on the start schema, if it's relevant in while building data products? I think that's a very good question as well. Should you still follow the old model or it's not?
So,
it may or may not be.
I don't think it's necessary anymore. Again, this is my personal thought. happy to be corrected. I'm making a case that if you can do extract, transform, product, then there's no star schema.
Fantastic. I believe so.
There's a semantic layer. You have a semantic layer to create the product, and you can create more products, but you don't the necessity. See, why did we do a star schema or an enterprise relation diagram, ERD? Is because storage was expensive. We needed to have third normal form data. We don't have those constraints. We have fast pipes. We've got fast CPUs. We've got pay per use ephemeral usage of the cloud. I can extract, transform, and product in a streaming environment without having to persist it.
Perfect. I'm just pushing on because in the interest of time, I've got 3 other sections that I would like to cover quickly and get your viewpoints, Sanjeev, and then in subsequent sessions, we can go deep dive. I love the product approach for a lot of reasons. One of them is about attributes, because whether I'm consuming a pack of chips or any food, I look for all the metrics there. Whether I'm buying a phone, I think you should your iPhone. There is a standard set of specification and attributes that's common across a category of products. Right now, let's come back to data products in a bit. And what are the bare minimum attributes you think data products should cover? Any data product should cover?
Yes, that question has been answered. If you read Data Mesh book by Zhamak, Chapter 3, there's a diagram on 8 attributes of a data product. It should be discoverable, addressable, valuable, interoperable, secure. Those are the attributes. And in fact, in my talk track today, when I do my start by saying, what I'm saying is that when you create a data contract, don't think just schemas, KPIs, and SLAs. Think all those attributes, all those 8 attributes, and write your contract for how am I going to discover it? If I cannot discover my data product, then what's the point? So those are the attributes, and they're well defined.
Okay, and how do you tie the role of, let's say, a catalog, which is like if I have 10,000 objects and complex ETL flows and all of that, a catalog does make sense. But then even then I have my debates and reservations on catalog, which I don't think I should be making on this call, but another session. But how do you, because data products will kind of abstract a lot of underlying complexity. It's got a defined owner, it's got a defined SLA, it's got all of that kind of attributes to it. Now, how do you see the role of catalogs in the data product world, and what will be the role of catalogs in this data product world?
So I know there's been a lot of debate recently about data catalog, and I find some of that discussion to be a little bit premature. I think we are exaggerating the weaknesses of data catalog. Data catalogs are far more powerful than what some people have said. Some people are saying a data catalog is like a museum of metadata. It's static, and who cares about a data catalog, because the action is elsewhere in the self-service analytics. But I feel catalogs are very much in line with self-service analytics. It's my single pane of glass to go find my business metadata, which is then linked to my technical metadata. So I'm a believer of data catalogs. But what happens in data products world is that I'm adding a new capability to data catalogs. I'm adding this view of what is the discoverability. When I say a data product should be discoverable, okay, that's easy said than done. Where will I discover it? In the catalog. Whether you call it data products catalog, metadata management platform, unified metadata plane, the name doesn't matter. I need a home. And that to me is a catalog where I can find out things like who's using the product. Let's say I create a product and no one is using it. And Ashwin, you come by and you say, oh, there is a tax calculator. I want to use that. I don't want to write my own tax calculator for every state in the United States or India. And the Philippines and wherever. I want to use this product. And then you go to catalog, you see the usage and you go, no one is using it. Well, that tells you something. So, or people were using it 8 months ago and now no one's using it. Maybe it needs to be deprecated. Maybe, or can I trust it? So these are the metadata for a product that goes into a catalog. Whatever you call it is up to you. But
yeah, I think I don't debate the purpose of a catalog. I debate the usage of a catalog in the current context, right? Because catalogs today are being used very passively. I think you need to make it activated. And how do you bring that collaboration together? With the product catalog approach, I think your Forbes article that you published yesterday around product data catalogs was very interesting. I think you laid down some fantastic points on how you can make it activated, right? So I think that's a problem I believe we should solve for. Catalogs are a necessary part of any architecture. No debates, no compromises on that, because they help you solve the information flow, the lineage, the understanding of technical metadata and its relation to business metadata. I think that forms like the core of it. But beyond that, it's not an interactive or collaborative platform. I think some of the modern data catalog tools are solving for collaboration. They are doing a fantastic job on that level. But most catalogs in its right, the idea exists. Right, I come from a product company where we have catalog as well, talent. Right, so the idea is existing from when we are in the sales journey. It's amazing how customers see the value of a catalog. We sell them the value of catalog, but it goes live on projects, and that's where the plus. The product features also exist in parts. If you ask me, it's not a product in the features. It's about how customers are consuming or making use of the catalog. If there's a regulatory use case, I think it's fantastic. Right? They're using it.
I mean, look at what Atlan is doing. You can go to Slack, you can go to Jira, and you can ask a question. And so I get this question a lot of times. Well, how do I calculate ROI of my data catalog? Yeah, how do you do it? Well, it's not that hard. How do you calculate ROI? Is you look at your Slack messages where a new employee saying, where do I find this? How do I do this? How do I do that? And those messages disappear. Why? Because in Slack, you can go ask Atlan a question and it'll tell you that's your ROI. All of a sudden, people are, Alation introduced a connection to Google Sheets and Excel. It's all like, it's not static sitting, outside your purview. It's right there in your analytics.
Perfect. Yes. I know, John Michel Franco, I think you raised your hand. You want to unmute, ask your question? If you like now, or I think you have to unmute your line. Or we'll continue. Whenever you're ready, you can unmute your line and ask your question. Coming to teams, I think this is very important. I think, how does a team composition look like, Sanjeev? I know you spoke about a coexistence of both centralized and decentralized teams. What new teams are we introducing? Is there a new role that we'll have to now create? There's a question from Balaji that I think is very relevant here. Where he sees a lot of people now on LinkedIn that they call themselves as data product managers. Do they belong to this or IT? What are the skills needed for a data product manager? Fantastic question, Balaji.
That makes my heart sink. You know why? Because there was a time till a few years ago when you went to LinkedIn, everybody was a data scientist. Everybody. It's like, what have you done? I'm an analyst, but I taught myself some Python. I'm a data scientist now because it's the hottest thing. So I hope, actually, I think it's a futile hope, but I think now people are going to pivot to data product managers. I think it's a very important skill because data people are not considered product managers, but if you've been a product manager and you go into the data space, I think it's a great combination from where I'm sitting right now. Time will tell, but I see 3 layers of roles in an organization: the business, the platform, and then the tech. So the business are data consumers who are defining, along with data product manager, they're defining the contracts and laying out the team structure and all that. The platform includes data stewards, the platform engineer who's coming up with this standard thing. And then the technical team includes data engineers and developers, coders, DevOps, SRE, data reliability engineers, and so on. So that's an organization for me.
Okay, and touching upon the organization as well, where do you think the reporting structure should be? Like, based on your experience, do they remain as separate departments loaned into the business teams, or you think they should all form a composite unit and then solve the problem?
There is no consensus. It's 50-50. Like in Gartner, when we did surveys, we found out CDOs are in business, they're in IT, they're independent. It's all over the place at this point. What I personally like is that there's a central CDO team, but then the CDO team allocates resources to the business domain. So there's kind of a dotted line. So these people always, so there's a marketing specialist with a dotted line to CDO, but sits in the marketing domain and so on. So it's a hybrid, I would say.
Got it. I think that's a great approach. I think that makes sense as well. So that skill set alignment makes happens naturally, but then you're also solving a business problem. But do you see a couple of data engineers on the call, are their jobs at risk, or is their job going to be redefined? I don't want to scare them by saying,
yeah. I don't think the jobs are at risk. I think your jobs get more exciting because today you do so much firefighting. Something breaks down, CFO finds out. So your CFO is your beta tester, sees the dashboard is broken, all hell breaks loose. People come to you and it's all reactive. You're already overwhelmed. You already have stuff to deliver. Now you stop delivering and you start doing root cause analysis. If you have a more structured approach, then your life becomes more fun. You're contributing to the business.
Perfect. I think, makes sense. Perfect. Moving on, I think I had two other pointers I wanted to quickly cover. Again, interest of time, probably I'll not go deep in each of these topics where I think people can reach out to you directly to get some of these answers. I know you kind of answered this in part. You said you can leverage any of the tools that you have existing to build data products with a software engineering mindset, but there are other tools in typical PMs use. Have you come across anybody working to solve for this? I know NextData is one that's trying to build a data OS, but then have you come across something that is kind of solving for this data as a product problem?
Yeah. So if you don't mind, can you continue this discussion? I'm being called to mic up. I'll be back in 2 minutes. So just hold on. I'll be
sure, no problem. Yeah. So in the meantime, probably let me address some of the questions. Rajesh, if you're there, probably you can also unmute your line. Or Anand, I'll unmute your line as well. I'll add you here. Anand, you can also answer some of the questions as well, particularly around contracts. I think, Anand, probably why don't you unmute your line and talk about data contracts? That was a question around data contracts. Can observability SLAs tied up to data contracts? You want to take a stab on that?
Yeah, totally. So when we are talking about data contract, right, there is two part of the contract, like two nature of the contract. One is like the structural part of the contract, which is what we are talking about. What should be your schema should look like? Is that the field is a PII information? Who owns it? So these are all structural contract. And there is a behavioral contract. What is the shape of the data? Hey, you told me this particular field will be null. That's a shape of the data that I'm expecting, but this is coming as a null. So it is violating the shape of the data. So it is like the SLA and then the quality is very much part of the data contract. Essentially.
Yeah, let me take some of the questions which are open. I think some of them, Puru, yes, you're right. Catalogs would help you create a marketplace for data products. Yes, and I think Sanjeev has a blog that came out yesterday that kind of answers that question around how he sees data product catalogs.
Okay.
I think you're back. Back. Okay.
Crisis averted. This is the dangers of multitasking. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
We are not. This is like it should be interactive, so it should fine. Interruptions are fine. Yeah. I think the question was around tech stacks that you have come across, particularly or any other product company that you've kind of come across that are building to solve this collaborative experience, right? Because you've got to collect requirements, document them,
Yes.
build the workflows and all that. Anything because you would see them.
Yeah, I love this part. And you also mentioned Zhamak's next data because I have a view on this. So remember I said there are three swim lanes. There's a business, data contracts, and consumers driving that. Then there's a platform team. So you have a data products catalog. Then you have the development team with data engineers and all of those. In the middle swim lane where you have the platform team, I'm saying that this is where you need a reusable framework which defines your hardware, your storage, your compute. Maybe there's a semantic metrics layer, so I can change my analytical engines, as needed. And maybe this is where Zhamak's next data, where it's creating this data mesh OS falls. So the idea is let's standardize, and but have a decoupled architecture, because I know things are going to change. Observability sits there, my data quality stack is there, and it becomes an API based thing, like infrastructure APIs, data APIs. So when the data, and the previous question was, what does a data engineer do? The data engineer goes to this reusable framework. It's like in oil industry or in other like car manufacturing, it's a factory line. So if let's say Tata Motors comes up, they says, no one's buying Indica, I'm going to have a new model. They're not going to build a whole new factory from scratch.
Yeah.
They're going to use the assembly line, and they're going to tinker it, and then now they can produce this new model. So that's my whole concept of, if we treat data as a product, then that reusable framework becomes my tech stack.
Perfect, Sanjeev. I know in the interest of time, let's quickly take the questions, and we'll continue on this some of the topics, and probably you're writing a blog around it, so we'll consume that. Right. So taking some of the questions here quickly, there are, I think, 4 of them. So easy one: can product owner role be replaced by data product manager? You want to take a stab on that?
I have debated that, because in my slide deck, I'm saying data product manager. I don't have a strong opinion either way right now. I think it's a bit early stage in my mind.
Okay, perfect. Is somebody anonymous? Can you talk about implementation of centralized data lake and decentralized data mesh approach to handle data? You mentioned hybrid approach is a good thing.
Yeah, so this is what companies are doing today. They are centralizing their data lake or their cloud data warehouse, but then the data product creation is decentralized, because you need a domain owner. You need somebody accountable. You need like in the US, I don't like this, a single net to choke, or a person that you can go and say, dude, your data quality is terrible and is breaking down my downstream system reports, so whatever. So that's a decentralized model of domain-driven data product creation on top of a centralized cloud data warehouse.
Perfect. 3 questions. I think we'll stop at that. Vignesh has a question. So he definitely says he has to read Zhamak's book. But then he's going to ask you anyway. How does people cost scale in this architecture? Because if every department has an owner and data product, then how do data organizations avoid replicating people costs?
So it's a huge topic for this year's FinOps, because now that economy is slowing down, guess what? We don't have the, it's like Wild West kind of, let's just build it and they'll come. So if there's a data product owner and you put in a data observability tool that can gather these metrics, I think we are going in for something brilliant. For example, I run my workloads for my data products, whatever it may be, build or run doesn't matter, and I incur a certain amount of cost. Now some guy comes in, runs a SQL query, and the cost starts going up. If my FinOps thing is smart, it can say, I'm 30% into this query. It has already taken her 50% of the cost. I'm going to kill it. I'm not going to, in the past, the CFO would get a bill that says, I'm sorry, somebody ran a $40,000 query last night. They did a Cartesian join of 2 million row tables. But today, if I'm a data product owner, I'm responsible for ROI, for the cost. So I am going to be putting these FinOps guardrails to stop stuff and alert me through a notification and take the corrective action.
Perfect. Two more questions. I think good question from Rekha. Data quality and all the role. Do you think should happen on the data source of the API consumers or receivers, or at the final data product, or at the presentation layer? Your viewpoint on that?
Oh, I have very strong views on this. It should shift left. It should happen in the pipeline. Like, don't push it to the right. Like, capture it when it happens. Otherwise you're going to run up your cloud bill even more, because now you spend so much money bringing the bad data. Now you're going to transform that bad data. So, and in certain cases you can catch it, like missing data or something. Certain cases you have to persist it, because you're going to do my order came from SAP, but my CRM is Salesforce, or this used Oracle, so I need to do that massaging in a warehouse. That's understandable, but catch it sooner.
Perfect. Last question. I think I'll take the second part of the answer. I think question you answered that previously. How does an organization measure the utilization of data product? Like, how do you measure success of data products? Your viewpoints on that?
Yeah, so I think usage is the biggest thing, like how often it's being used. I even mentioned things like, people asking fewer questions and stuff like that on Slack, people becoming more self-contained.
Perfect. Sure, Sanjeev, I think.
Oh, I see Anant is on and his hand is raised.
Anant has a question. Yes.
Yeah,
right.
so I have one question, essentially. Like, can you imagine a data product which is shareable, packageable, installable across any environment, similar to how the software package is getting distributed? Is it even a possibility? And if that is a possibility, how that world will look like?
So I think we will get there. I think we are so early in our journey that right now it's very focused on the identified consumers and their needs, and we are building it. But once we get established in this whole data product journey, then people will start creating their own products, and they may use the data sharing capability. So there's some understanding of what products exist, who's using them. There's a lineage, there's metadata. People have talked about blockchain. Last night, I was blown away. I came across this company that creates data products. Actually, I'll mention it since, I hope this is not confidential, but Nextla creates data products, for example. And so they create these data products, and then now they're using Chat GPT. So you cannot have a podcast without Chat GPT to summarize it and create executive reports. So there are all these unimaginable extensions of data products that we never knew could happen. So that was an eye-opener last night when I learned about it. So Anand, I 100% think we are going to have these reusable data products, but I don't have an example top of my head because I'm too early in this journey.
Yeah, I think reusable data products and kind of standardized data products also. For example, if marketing as a function is solving in retail, most retail marketers solve for a common use case, a data product built there using a similar set of data points, right? Salesforce data, HubSpot. Can be standardized and packaged, and probably you'll have new vendors, new companies mushrooming to solve and say, hey, this is a standard. I think Houseware, if I'm not wrong, tries to do that, if I'm not wrong, but not as a data product. They solve for good marketing, but I think that would also happen. ultimately. That's my viewpoint on that. I know in interest of time, again, people are starting to drop off. Sanjeev, your viewpoints, right, on what's the opportunity ahead and what do people on this call? Now, this call is represented by founders. We have got data engineers, you've got product managers, you've got CTOs, a mixed audience. How do you think we should embrace the opportunity that's lying ahead, and what do you think we should avoid?
So let's talk about what you should avoid. A closed mind. Have a curious mind. You know, I belong to a very cynical group of analysts who like to, some of them are jaded, some of them are like, I've been there, seen that, what's new about it? It's just, old wine in a new bottle. Okay, fine, you're right, But my point is that don't have preconceived notions, just explore and see, does it meet your need? If it doesn't meet your need, you're happy, everything's going on, nothing's lost. So I think the opportunity is there. Like this ChatGPT thing, it's like, we didn't know about ChatGPT till 6 weeks ago. And all of a sudden, I think ChatGPT may change everything. I don't know. I mean, I'm just a lowly guy, but Satya Nadella thinks that investing $10 billion in OpenAI is a good investment. And now Google has traded Bard and it's running after this. These big minds think it's big. Then who am I to question it? I should explore and learn.
Perfect. And the opportunity that you see?
So opportunity is to meet the business faster. So to show the business that IT is not just a cost center, IT is actually now delivering product at the most rapid scale ever, which business can monetize and recover their investments in IT. So it's not like a sink of like, where did my cost go? Why did I spend these hundreds of thousands of dollars to build this mess? What did I get out of it? Bad quality, models I cannot trust. Where did my investment go? Well, so that's opportunity, is to avoid all that. Perfect,
Sanjeev. I think I have one takeaway for me. It's your trademark ETP. So run small and create a product. I think Sanjeev, I think you've shared the excitement with all of us around the whole notion of creating. Thank you all for your thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone who stayed back as well. Thank you all. I know you have a long day ahead at Starburst. Enjoy your day. Yes. Share your notes with the family as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Bye.